Hello, my name is Gabrielle Milch, and last lesson we learned about pH and its effects on turfgrass. Just as a reminder, we learned about how to take a soil sample and what you need to know about your soils and some of the limitation about your soil. The pH is an indicator of nutrient absorption in your plant roots and an important factor in plant selection and best management practice used in caring for your plants. Today, we are building on that knowledge and speaking with a master gardener about the importance of questioning and discussion about turfgrass health with a client. We will discuss the best management practices in today's lesson as well. This presentation is about questioning and discussion with a new master gardener volunteer. The line of questioning is about how to question a client coming into a help desk for a remedy for a turfgrass or horticultural problem. The line of questioning is designed to get the master gardener volunteer to ask the client questions about their problems, to assist the clients in learning and understanding that the way they have cared for their grass is problematic, and that to help them understand that not all turfgrass problems require chemical solutions, and oftentimes that overwatering is the problem, and conserving water is important. Proper plant selection and care and understanding of the environmental conditions and limitations in a person's yard is important for the health of your plants, people, and our environment. Many people do not understand how to properly care for their turfgrass. There are several questions one must raise with the client to help them understand. This type of questioning is all about interactive learning and guided reflection. In this lesson, we will build on the master gardener's existing knowledge about turfgrass and how to help the client receive the information to help them apply the knowledge and improve their outcomes. Mr. Milch is a new master gardener, and he is being trained in the plant clinic on how to help clients with problems in their yard. We are looking at a sample of turf that Mrs. Smith left, and she will need to be called back on the phone. So what do you think about this turfgrass?
Well, I noticed the grass is not very green and there are some weeds. I
Huh.
also noticed that the roots are not very healthy.
There are several things that could be wrong with this sample. First, we need to ask the person, how high do you set your mower blades? And be sure to tell them to put it at the highest setting. This will help root growth. How much sun do you get in this part of your yard? And then you may want to ask them more specific, like how many hours of sunlight do you get? How much sunlight do you get in your yard? Then you may need to ask them more specific, like how many hours of sunlight do you get? Then you need to ask them if they need at least 6 hours of sunlight a day to grow turfgrass successfully.
The client told me that she gets sufficient sunlight.
How about the soil?
Why does that matter?
Too sandy of a soil does not allow sufficient root growth, and that is a major problem in turfgrass growth. Then you can ask them, have you put any chemicals on your yard lately? If they answer yes, then you need to ask them, what did they put on their grass? And many people put too many chemicals on their yard at the wrong time sequence.
Well, Mrs. Smith did tell me that they put down a fungicide and a pesticide.
Then you can ask them, why did you put a fungicide down? And you can look at the turfgrass blades and see if you see a fungus and look at the roots. And then you can ask them if they saw any bugs. Did you read the label and follow the directions precisely on their chemicals? After looking at the sample, you would then ask them, how often do you water your grass?
Well, she told me she watered correctly 2 times a week.
Then you can ask them for how long did they water. Listen and give them feedback. Do you know that when it rains almost every day, you do not have to have supplemental water on your grass? Too much water can cause problems from fungus to pests and unhealthy root systems. You can ask them, did they know that for every 1 inch of water you put down on your yard or equivalent rainfall that contributes to the water and it percolates well below the root zone, and you are wasting product and wasting water? Then ask them, how much do you think you need to water during the growing season? And you can listen for their response and then tell them 3/4 of an inch. Do you know how to determine how much water you are using? And then you can ask them to do a catch can test or determine the correct amount. Then you can remind them that they only need to water their yard when the grass blades become bluish and folded over.
I see. Could the problem come from too much fertilizer as well?
Well, then you need to ask them questions like, how often do you fertilize your grass? And do you use weed and feed products? UF does not recommend the use of weed and feed products on people's grass. Listen to their answer and then let them know the proper amount of fertilizer depends on the product they choose and also on the amount of size of area that they have. Also, 2 to 4 applications per year is enough. Dependent on how much nitrogen is in the product, slow release, if there's 50%, you would add 1 pound per 1,000 square feet, or if it's more than 50% slow release, they would only use a half a pound, and they can determine this from reading the label.
I understand. What about the brown patches?
Well, then you need to ask them how quickly they address the brown patches, because if it's a pest or if it's too much water, they really need to ID the proper pest and deal with the brown spot and reduce their amount of supplemental water and remove this brown stuff that's commonly called thatch. Clean the area of the old dead stuff and maybe replug and then water until established for at least 2 weeks. Did you know that raking up all of the thatch in the plant areas can help reduce the amount of fungus spread because it gets caught on the raindrops? And the spores of the fungus are transported onto the leaf blades and spread the infection. And then you can thank them for coming in and remind them to do what?
Not overwater, identify pests properly before treating and know what pesticides to use and follow the label. Fertilize properly and make sure they get enough sun and mow properly.
Thanks and happy growing. I hope this lesson was informative and demonstrated how to use questioning for learning, and that our discussion will help you learn how to ask questions with the client about proper turf care, identify their problems, and where their problems stem from, and how they can better care for their grass. Most importantly is how they can best use the best management practices and care properly for their yards, conserve water, and pollute less.
Well, that's very interesting, Mrs. Milch. Can you tell us what we're going to learn next?
Well, next time we're going to learn more about interesting horticultural practices.
Thank you.
For those of you who are video learners, I can go over this concept map to help you. The turf grass questions that we would be using would be constructed as such. We would first talk about the best management practices, which were about mowing heights, proper mowing heights, and setting the mower at the proper level. Also, we talked about pest management and determining the correct insect to be treated, and also to reduce the spread of fungus, the practices needed. Also, for watering, we would discuss too much or too little watering and the effects on your turf grass and the associated diseases. We discussed the soils and the sand versus organic components of the soil that your grass is planted in, and we discussed proper fertilization. Today we discussed strategies that master gardeners can use to help their clients understand about turf grass problems. We also identified where those problems may have stemmed from and learned about some best management practices a person can adopt in their yard to promote healthier turf grass and keep our environment safe. Next time we'll be discussing cooperative and interactive learning and how to apply those concepts to learning and caring for your turf grass. Until then, goodbye.